What if I said to you that your authority doesn't necessarily lie in your headlines, in that LinkedIn bio, in those Instagram stories, or even in your YouTube stuff if you do YouTube. But it's actually buried in the moments that you've forgotten. So in this video I want to set out exactly how to find those career moments that actually define and reveal your expertise. So by the end you'll have a method of digging out all the stories that make you what you are, that make you great. My name's Mike and I help successful solopreneurs, consultants and small teams clarify their brand stories so it finally matches their achievements and what they really feel about themselves and who they want to be. So I've been responsible for my own income for 30 years this year. In September it'll be 30 years, and for the vast majority of that time I had absolutely no idea how to talk about myself, how to differentiate myself. Why would someone go to me rather than the guy down the road? It was painful, to be honest. And I kept defaulting to this generic brand consultant language, and I lost deals to people that were probably not as good as me, but had clearer stories, clearer communication. Then I discovered a message that broke my life down into chunks and worked out the important things that had happened to me along the lines, and all of a sudden patterns started emerging. And the kind of things that I was too close to my life to actually realise. And that's when I developed the method. So this is how it works. Break your life, your career down into 5-year segments, even if they are random. And I'm including your teenage school years in this because that's really when you learnt the most. This is relevant because they reveal those chunks are long enough to reveal patterns when longer periods can kind of appear a bit more like a blur. So for each section, I want you to ask yourself this question: what was I doing? What was my life situation? What were my challenges? Who were my mentors? Who were my victories? Or what were my victories, rather? What were my defeats? Even who were my enemies? I'd take it for example, I spent 3 years in a degree where I learnt how to tell the different history degree, where I learnt how to tell the difference between what's important, what's not important. I could see trends, I could interpret things. Much later, when I became a translator, that really honed my language skills, and it taught me the difference between my language and other languages. There's all kinds of things that I learned from that. So sit down, at least for the first 30 minutes. This is going to take you a while because you realise, when you got your first job, when you left school and stuff like that. But it's the more interesting stuff that you've probably forgotten about that'll take time to come out. You'll have those moments in the shower that, oh, I forgot about that thing, and you write it down. But the chunks of the 5-year chunks are the start of this process, and most people don't do this work. The next stage is to connect the dots. Now, in an ideal world, you do this with somebody else. Somebody to whom you were not related, somebody with whom you were not romantically involved, because they know you too well. They can't stand back, even less than you can. But then you'll see the moments. It was pointed out to me. Like I said, my history degree makes me. I use what I do today. My translation, my copywriting, has given me particular skills. I was a travel agent as well in the 80s. That taught me how to build relationships with people. These are the things that will reveal your actual expertise, not your official title. What do people rely on you for informally or even formally. The problems you solved outside the job description, you could even, if you want to push it to the limit, if you're still in contact with them, go and ask former colleagues, what did you always come to me for? What did you think I could do? This is the kind of stuff that will give you light on the expertise that you have that you probably don't know about. This is not just about the victories either. It's not all about the good stuff. It's also about the defeats, because they're the things that make you normal. They're the things that make you human, because believe it or not, we all fail at things from time to time. All the failed projects, the lost clients, the forced pivots, if you like. But my most important one was when I gloriously failed the competitive exam to be a teacher in France by 0.4%. Luckily, I thought, well, what can I do now? I know I speak English, I speak French, I can be a translator. That was pretty much forced, and it changed my life. I've never been the same since. Nobody's failed in exactly the same way. And this may sound strange, but that's your edge. That's the kind of thing that makes you probably like a lot of other people. My failed teaching attempt, like I say there, set me off on a completely different path. So for each section, make sure you consider not just the victories, but the defeats, because defeats are difficult, but they also prove who you are and make you more relatable. And again, so many people don't do this. I cannot overstate the value in writing this out by hand. It's as though you've told somebody. I mean, you might get round to unveiling all your darkest secrets, perhaps, but you've only unveiled them to yourself, really. So that doesn't matter. But once I got through this process, I realised that I had a story to tell. I realised that I was my own individual. I realised I had a story, my backstory, that nobody else has had. I mean, I lived half my life in France. I've been a translator. I've been a copywriter. I've been a number of things in the past. I married my teenage girlfriend at the age of 45. There's nobody like me, to be quite frank. So from that point on, I just stopped sounding like everybody else, every other copywriter, every other consultant. And I started understanding who I was and what my value was. So I've got the same technical skills as most other people in my trade. But I'm unique because I can articulate that through specific moments instead of making vague claims. So your story, your expertise, all the things that actually do make you unique are just buried in there. You just need to go out and dig them out. There is a certain amount of vulnerability involved in this process. There is a certain amount of getting comfortable with yourself. But I think the whole idea of writing this out by hand, preferably, really helps you come to terms with yourselves, So you map your life out into, just to repeat, you map your life out into 5-year chunks. You write down the victories, your defeats, and of course, all the things that you learnt. I'm on a journey of discovery with this at the moment, with YouTube, with the business that I'm running. So if you want more stuff like this, basically, do all the YouTube stuff, subscribe and like and have some comments. Let's have a discussion about this. To go into further detail with that, join me on Substack. The link's in the description. And if you want some help with this and working out what your brand position and what really makes you unique with this, we can work together on the Message Clarity Blueprint, the link for which is in the description.